TvT here, Clem undefeated in the league. And the top so far, while uThermal sits 2 and 3, uThermal will spawn the red Terran in the bottom left. Up against the blue Terran in the top right. We have got Clem. Kicking this off, seeing what's going to happen here over the next few moments. When's Reno versus Harstem? Not currently scheduled. It's not going to be today. Because Harstem is currently on vacation and hence unavailable, apart from the fact he did manage to play against Clem already. As we get this set up. Racks on each side of the map here on Turbo Cruise 84. As we obviously have these inhibitor zones on this map as well. Slows down movement speed of units, air and ground. They have changed the visual of these a little bit since they're in the TLMC. Now they're green, not red. I like them. They're a bit more obvious where they are, and it's also more obvious that it slows down the air units as well. So I can get behind that. It's actually pretty nice to see. Both players going to open up with an expansion. Obviously feeling fairly safe. Do you see those couple of inhibitor zones? There you go. You can see that SCV getting slowed down as it passes through it. So SCV on its way back home. I mean, just some early scouting here. Nothing crazy. Clem didn't scout, if I'm not mistaken. He just checked for proxy Rack's location, but that's about it. So he's gonna go and. I mean, the thing is, with the usual kind of Reaper Hellion pressure you see in TvT, it doesn't really work on this map because you're at such a disadvantage if you're attacking into this inhibitor zone or through this inhibitor zone. As the defender, you're just going to be completely fine. So that's why we see both players with the single Reaper and the expansion early, and just going straight in towards factory, reactor, etc. So kind of bypassing the early kind of Reaper Hellion, then a Cyclone sort of stage of the game that we so often see in the world of TvT. Starport on the way from both. uThermal was actually reacting out Hellions while Clem reacted out Marines. Means that Clem does have a factory now on the tech with a tech lab, so he'll go straight into a Cyclone here, unless he wants to get a tank, which would be a bit weird. No, he's going to lift up and make space for the Starport. So it's going to be the Starport that'll lift up and move on over to that tech lab here in the next couple of moments. So Starport moves over to the tech lab. Liberator on the way up here from uThermal as well. So getting that started as more Marines being produced. Orbital just going to lift up and drop down to the side. Obviously was a bit misplaced there by Clem, so just getting that fixed up, and well, there's the Raven. So obviously a Raven, kind of an expected opener. uThermal really is committing to these Hellions. I mean, he's going to have 6 of them in a few moments, and a Liberator, so a bit of a combo. So 6 Hellions and a Liberator getting set to go across. See what this Liberator does as it starts to move across the map. First CC drops down in the main base. Yeah, these Hellions just kind of, I mean, there's so many of them, 8 Hellions. I mean, it'll take a while to come through. Let's see what gets pulled out of position by this Liberator, because obviously you're going to have to pull something. Wow, look at that. Liberator's found its mommy Liberator. Just chilling underneath. Yikes, I wouldn't like that to siege up. I reckon this Liberator is capable of, like, blowing up buildings. Just one-shots the command center. Hellions go running on in. The Cyclone was a bit out of position. And these Marines are being absolutely roasted so far. The Cyclone will stick around. The Order Turret helped out a little bit with this as well. So far, only 2 workers down. Make that 3 now. 4. And maybe a couple more as well. 5. And that'll be it, but obviously the Liberator's bought a ton of time in the main base. That's a lot of lost mining over here, despite it only being a single SCV kill. And it kind of makes up for the Hellion losses of uThermal, who maybe lost a little bit more in resources, but obviously took a bit of an income advantage and will maintain a worker lead advantage as well. Liberator hanging out in the center here from uThermal. And we're heading up to the top side of the map again. Couple of Ravens, Marines, and the tanks hanging out here from Clem. Two armories on the way up here in this main base as well. So setting that up, getting that rolling. uThermal's Rack's going to be landing here in the main base. And SCV going to drop down a supply depot here as well in the back of this natural. And again, those Marines just starting to head up to the upper right side of the map. Stimpack on the way up here from Clem as well. And those two extra factories continuing to build. So two more factories coming out, two more Vikings on the way in. Once the lift's going to land in the next few moments, and again, we're going to get some mech versus bio. Makes this a bit of an interesting matchup here. A bit different to usual, and obviously on such a interesting map as well. I'm intrigued to see how that has an impact on it. Obviously, again, we've not really seen the inhibitor zones come into play in terms of for a fight just yet. A few tanks moving around and getting themselves positioned a little bit too. Stimpack about to complete in the next few moments. There's more barracks from Clem in the main. Both these players, I mean, again, uThermal taking that maybe a little bit of an early advantage, but from there, it's really evened out a little bit. I mean, just bits and pieces. uThermal still has a 5 or 6 worker lead. 2 Ravens apiece. Viking camp pretty similar. Little advantage to Clem in that regard for the moment. Obviously, air control is hugely important for the mech play here, because if he loses the Vikings, then Liberators will really control his army unless he introduces a couple of 4s into play. So he really needs to be cautious of that. This Liberator has now found Daddy Liberator. Still dressed in pink, though. And that is actually terrifying. Can you imagine one of those sieged up your base? Hello. I killed 8 SCVs at a time. It's actually terrifying. Why is it so big? Why? It's crazy. Turret picking its way through that Liberator, very nearly goes down. So Liberator taking quite a lot of damage there. Is pushed back by the missile turret in the end. Just get a siege up position on an expected 4th base location, more or less. And as Clem sets up a couple of tanks by that inhibitor zone. Obviously, these tanks should be pretty well they should be pretty well protected. These inhibitor zones will stop Marines stimming onto them. Of course, it's not bio anyway from uThermal, but if you were thinking about it as a Marine tank versus Marine tank game, there's definitely something to keep in mind. Another command center starts up, so Clem already thinking about a 4th, but uThermal already has one, expanding so quickly here, just not skipping a beat when it comes to expansions. That's the next CC dropping down. Combat shields and concussive shells still on the way up as well. And the rest of this army from Clem coming around to the right, although we'll back away back towards the center. There are Roxy in the center as well you can kill off to open the space. Looks like he wants to just go, maybe he can go to the left side, hit this 4th base of uThermal. And he's going to run by a few SCVs, going to start dropping. And that's one of the annoying things about mech, right? You know, you can just throw Hellions away almost, and killing Hellions by, losing Hellions by SCVs is definitely worthwhile. A couple of Marines getting picked off, and man, there's just so many Vikings here. Obviously, as the mech player, you never have to stop Viking production to make medevacs. Well, Clem never really stopped either. uThermal has found himself a couple ahead. As this army is making progress towards the left-hand side here, uThermal is up in supply though as the meching player. Makes this dangerous as This tank's going to start firing away. Tank's going to siege up. Ravens drop a bunch of interference matrices off. No anti-armor missile on either side. Both players' Ravens have been shot down at this point, I believe. I think it's uThermal who's going to win out in the skies. One Cyclone actually forces a turn away towards the end here. And again, Clem is going to just go and relocate elsewhere. These tanks going to siege up in between bases. I don't think they reach across to the command center, but definitely an interesting little position. Bayou's in the inhibitor zone getting picked off pretty easily. The Vikings of uThermal definitely in better numbers and absolutely has won this fight. uThermal even introduced a 4 to the army now, just in case he did lose out, but now he can also build Liberators. And so now he's going to really start controlling this map. Really going to start controlling this here as tanks will on siege, pulling around to the top side across the map. A couple of Hellions will take some damage. So a few SUVs continuing to get picked off here now. And then just going to be seeing the +3 vehicle weapons and plating on the way on those armories. And this army of uThermal just hanging out on the left. As more Hellions go darting on by. This time with Blue Flame, they're going to get so many SUVs. There's no protection here either. A Marauder runs in. Like, that is not going to be the answer to this. Well, again, Vikings are going to win out in the sky already. The Liberator will be shot down before it is able to siege. Before the Vikings are dealt with. So that's nice. But again, 22 SUVs down. Clem is hurting. The Vikings will land on top of these siege tanks. And actually, the tanks on siege. But it's just too late. The tanks are already picked off. Clem loses his entire army. And uThermal has just taken an early advantage and played a mech game on a map that actually seems very difficult to break mech down on. I'm not sure what Clem maybe should have really done different, but I feel like the ways you usually try and deal with mech counter-attack and etc. just don't work that well on this map. So we'll see Medivacs unloading by units getting dropped down. Missile turret is going to get picked up. I'm just going to see uThermal actually did send Hellions back around to deal with this drop. Surprised it sent so much because his army was making good progress to the top right side. Vikings coming through. Liberator is going to help to chase that Medivac down. The units to the side of it obviously aren't really long for this world, so drop is completely denied. Now Clem's 5th base is on this right side, or actually his 4th base, sorry, is on this right side. So uThermal's going to push straight up into this. Maybe that's why he turned around, just realizing where the 4th base was. That tank siege is going to be deadly. Those Bayou units are not going to last very long at all. GG from Clem. I don't think anyone was expecting anything else other than that GG. As uThermal picks up game number 1 of this best of 3. Alright, so jumping into game number 2 now. To the bottom right hand side, our blue Terran player up by 1 is uThermal. I mean, this is Neo Tokyo Cruise isn't really like it's not a good macro map, the map we just saw. But obviously the way you can play it in TvT, it can be kind of macro focused. It's Clem, our right Terran on top left here. See what he does on this larger map as well. Natural, very easily defended, a 3rd base that comes straight out from the natural. On the low ground you can take a base here as well, though a bit more forward. What I do love about this map the most, I think, is the center of this map. All of this kind of high ground and these ramps. It's not just your typical middle of the map, right? It's very interesting. It's very fun. It's different, it's unique, and it creates opportunities, it creates fights, and it creates positions, and I really like that about it. It really feels like, I just feel like everything on this map was done well. Thank you so much, Maximal Craziness, for the 200 bits as well. Thank you so much. As we do just see this SCV, or these 2 SCVs going to cross by in the middle of the map. And the game TvT just going to be that little bit of setup and players just checking there's no proxy racks or anything as well. Splitting over to the side here from uThermal, there is a Reaper pathway up here highlighted by this arrow, so the depot just trying to block the Reaper directions off. Why don't we have Nation Wars this year? Probably just because it wasn't funded. Honestly, as much as I love Nation Wars, I really feel like doing Nation Wars every year was a bit overkill. For me, it really lost the hype, having it like every year. I feel like it would be good like every 2 years or something. But I imagine it's just a thing of funding and finding the right time to run it and stuff, and the problem probably was something to do with WCS winter took up a lot of time in the early couple of months of the year, which would usually be kind of taken up by Nation Wars. Like Nation Wars last time was kind of December-ish, or in the kind of gap between Leipzig and the next WCS event. That didn't really exist this year. So maybe something to do with scheduling, maybe something to do with funding, maybe a bit of both. Reactor's going to finish up, and factory is going to be lifting into position on that reactor. So both players expanding in the same way, and we do see again it's going to be one player reactor and Marines, but this time it's uThermal, while the other reactor's Hellions. So Clem getting the Hellions up early this time around. So a few Hellions coming through. Tech Lab going to be built up on the barracks starport. It's going to be completing soon as well. You've built a Widow Mine early. Interesting. Widow Mine is pretty good defensively early on, because a lot of times it will just guarantee a unit kill if it's placed here and anything tries to run into the base. It's very hard to, I mean, either it gets a kill or it completely zones out attacks, right? So it's kind of guaranteed damage, which is always nice to see. As you just see the bunker coming in at the front of the natural here. Raven on the way up from Clem, and the barracks going to lift up, dropping down onto the reactor. And the factory is going to start building a tech lab. Thank you, Yoga Dragon, for the Twitch Prime for 3 months. Appreciate it. You are saving our sub count from dropping below 300. We've not been below 300 subs for over a year. Today we started the stream on 300 with risk of losing more. It was a bit of a yikes. But we've just about stayed above 300 subs. So I guess miracles do happen. Raven on the way from each player, getting this up and running. And again, just command center dropping down in natural expansion. Says medevac. I mean, what am I involved as well? Again, is that idea of zoning. You can kind of zone the defense away from the attack. So it kind of swings things into your favor a little bit as these few Hellions of Clem come running down, and uThermal will lose a Hellion of his own. I'm going to unburrow, reburrow. It's keeping these SCVs away for the moment, I tell you that. Industry is Medics on the medevac. As the Widowmine goes in, gets one of the Hellions. Raven taking some damage as well. Medevac will save one Marine at the end, and that will be all. So, all said and done, uThermal definitely lost a lot more than Clem did. Did get some lost money, did deny some mining time. Was it enough? It's tough to say, because obviously uThermal, there's a couple SCVs ahead. The units he lost are very replaceable units in the form of, the Widowmine doesn't do much from this point on. The Marines don't exactly, aren't exactly hard to come by, so it's neither here nor there, I'd say. Thank you, the Proud UDLM, for the Twitch Prime for 13 months as well, by the way. Says, hey Wardy, hope you're doing well. I've seen better days, but thank you so much for the Twitch Prime. Appreciate the 1 year and 1 month. 10 coming up from each player. We're getting a couple of Hellions and a Reaper moving around as well here from Clem. Marine will fall. This Marine is going to be an absolute hero, able to pick off both of those Hellions. Holds his watchtower. Map control is still going the way of uThermal here at the moment. 2 engineering bays dropping down in the main base. uThermal going to be jumping back up into the medevac, and again, Reaper and the Marine continue to fight here. Reaper is going to be able to get the kill. Four more barracks on the way up. It's set and ready to roll. Command center here from uThermal flying across into position. It's going to be landing here in the next couple of moments. Tanks firing. We'll kill that Reaper. And 2 Ravens, 2 Vikings up in the sky. 2 more Vikings coming in as well. So uThermal taking this forward. Low ground base, so he's going to play more towards the center of the map than Clem, who expands down the left-hand side for the moment. +1 attack and +1 armor on the way from both. Stimpack as well from both of them. Still seeing Clem just change positions a little bit at the moment. I'm going to be the first to try and become an aggressor here, by the way, as these bio armies continue to set up on both sides. SCVs, though, going down to the drop. uThermal coming in at a hell of a time. The SCVs, and man, Clem just has nothing at home to defend. Supply Demon's taking some damage. A tank will siege up. The SCVs will be pulled back towards the tank. uThermal's paying attention. He gets it deeper. Will drop out of range of the tank. Now we'll get some more kills. Although the Vikings will make short work of the medevac in the end. But still the Marines hanging around. That's the second supply depot. So now picked off. Clem's supply block from this. It's a really good drop by uThermal. We're getting a lot of damage done. Wow. uThermal really puts himself in a pretty great position there as now. Vikings, Ravens, and siege tanks. Marines too, pushing across to the upper left-hand side. So here we go. This army of uThermal coming in. Well, Clem going to see a jump a few tanks as well. Vikings pressing forwards. A little bit of a trade-off here. Marines will come through, and the Vikings will take some damage already. It's getting a little bit feisty as you see that command center is in some trouble. So, fourth base of Clem will not be finished. He has to cancel it. It's painful. Well, it's painful as well. There's tanks getting into his matrix. Massive order turrets up the right flank from uThermal. Just to respond to the order turrets of his opponent. The Vikings from uThermal starting to win out as well. He just doesn't have the tanks to finish off, although he does have 2 more order turrets. And they will get rid of at least 1 more siege tank here. Vikings are even going to land. I don't agree with that decision because I feel like the Marines coming through to reinforce. Now uThermal's just lost his air control. You could have just got those Vikings out of there instead of killing 1 tank. I mean, what's 1 extra tank kill going to do for you? Not that much. Messy fights, especially as they've been taking place without combat shields, so those Marines have been hurting. Biggest thing though, uThermal has a 4th about to finish, and that obviously was denied and cancelled for Clem. So that's obviously a big kick in the teeth for Clem there. It's a tough one to recover from. Coming around the left-hand side, the tank gets picked off. Siege tank fire continuing to go down. This tank also in some trouble. Picked off once again. Tanks in the center now going to unsiege. Pull back a little bit. Planetary Fortress from uThermal starts up here as well. Again, those couple of tanks sieging up. Marines have to be a little bit cautious though. 1 Viking does get sniped down. And the rest of these Marines coming through the center from uThermal. Well, uThermal's still in a very playable position here at the moment. Really is Clem kind of cornered in on 3 bases, and it's quite a wide surround, but it's doing the job at the moment, and Clem is going to be able to get the 4th base down. Let's see if uThermal makes any plays in that direction. Now he does have a Raven uThermal. That's something that Clem lost out on a bit earlier. You're going to see an anti-armor missile. That's going to change the tides of battle for those Marines a little bit. uThermal's going to just spread out and go in towards the tanks. He wants to get positioned to deny this 4th base, but he's not going to win the Marine fight. Too many medevacs there, it seems. Clem able to hold on, and uThermal pushed away a little bit in the middle of the map. These Marines going to have to regroup just slightly. And now Clem backs away with that little bit of army as well. Sunset Tower starts up here in the center. More Marines going to be pushing up this left-hand side, and again, just going to be seeing a couple of tanks immediately in some trouble. Vikings dealing some damage. This turn once more, uThermal really trying to take this fight. He is about to get 2-2 upgrades ahead of Clem, so if he could fight with 2-2 against 1-1, that'd be great, but he's losing medevacs to those Vikings also, so he just doesn't have the healing in the sky to make this work out. And he's coming forwards one more time. Another Marine falls. Still this army of uThermal gathering up into the center of the map. Planetary Fortress. This is the big thing. uThermal has like 5 bases up and running, so that's obviously huge for him. It's the one thing that is going very, very well for him at the moment. Two starports dropping down in the main. Clem's Marine tank medevac force going through the center. A little bit of army here from uThermal as well, pressing forwards. So a lot of Marines coming through at the moment, and there's just so many tanks sieged up. uThermal cannot fight this, and he's going to struggle to hold the center of the map himself with only 2 siege tanks here. Clem can kind of just push his own tanks forwards, and again, uThermal's struggling because of those Vikings picking away at his medevacs. Now his siege tanks are picked off as well, and Clem has just defended one too many times and put uThermal into a bit of a tough spot. uThermal just almost needs like an extra factory. He is only playing with 1, so that's actually a big issue. Only 1 factory here. Is just cancel +3 armor. But only 1 factory means he's not got the kind of, you know, the double factory production Clem has, and considering he's already behind on tanks, it continues to leave him in that very kind of weakened position. uThermal will find 1 tank here. I mean, that doesn't quite get the job done, as this planetary fortress is absolutely exposed. uThermal continues to move around with this group of Marines. I mean, this planetary is just dead, and if you lose this base is obviously exposed as well. 2 tanks over here. uThermal will still 1 Marine ahead of the rest. We'll try and push into this, but multiple tanks, it's just not going to happen. Still Clem trying to find a way forwards. 2 more tanks loading up into these medevacs, and it's going to be a drop into the main base. uThermal's Marines will turn around, will stim into this here, try and shut this down ASAP. He'll get a full medevac. Oh, he does get it before anything can really unload, but it means these tanks unload to try and protect this, and oh my god, a shutdown from uThermal. Clem with a drop in the main. He should have just gone. The problem was he tried to protect the medevac but then died anyways, and he lost more in doing that than if he'd just given up on that medevac. Yes, the drop was a bad idea, but then he didn't do the right thing to minimize the losses. uThermal still has Marines swim back into the main as mostly empty medevac. I mean, just siege tanks here. There's no way they're actually just going to go in and drop, I don't think. Not unless uThermal's like way out of position. But it's a good way to keep uThermal's army pinned back a little bit. Is now uThermal taking that advantage again. He's about to have free against a very delayed free of Clem, especially the armor upgrade. That engineering bay did get killed. So it's uThermal's opportunity to maybe make something happen here. He kind of needs to fight with his tanks though, and that's just not what he's been doing. And again, his tanks will die. He just doesn't have enough tanks at all, as now those tanks dropped from the medevacs, and uThermal, what was once a 5th base, is now acting as a 4th. He needs that, as we'll see these Marines up here will be able to defend a new base on the right-hand side. Dropping on top of these tanks though, uThermal will clean up. The medevacs get out alive, but that will be all. He just needs an extra factory, uThermal. Like, please, uThermal. If you want to win this, how on earth are you ever going to compete in tank count if you're not building, if you're only building 1 tank at a time at most? I mean, he hasn't actually built a tank for a while yet as well. He's actually just playing purely Marines at the moment. I mean, there's 1 tank left in the army. But where's that siege tank production? It just doesn't exist. He's maxed out on Marine medevac. That just doesn't win you games. Clem has got a base up in the top right behind all of this. There's uThermal, here we go. He just stim in. The tanks were in siege for a moment there from Clem. uThermal backs away. I mean, these are the sort of fights that uThermal can win though, especially because he had the upgrade advantage in that fight too. uThermal comes back around the bottom side. His 1 remaining siege tank takes a lot of hits and will go down. And again, uThermal just trying to pick fights when the tanks are in siege or when there's only 1 or 2 in range. Trying to minimize the damage here. As uThermal starts up another tank of his own, but again, boy, does he need those, or that, just a little bit sooner. He's going to counter-attack, and I think he knows he's got the more mobile army, so in terms of running around and darting in and out, that's where uThermal excels. Clem has to be sieged up to win a fight, so that's obviously a very big deal. Oh, that tank fight is huge. Oh my god, uThermal's Marines getting massacred. Another tank in the center. Yeah, uThermal's Marines are just so low health as well. It's another one of the issues. Oh my god, he runs into the watchtower and more tanks on the high ground. uThermal just lost this base too, so he really is hurting. I mean, this was a ton of Marines that have just gone down here. The medevacs load up and they boost away, but they're not going anywhere useful anytime soon. These Marines unloading. Medevacs with another couple of, well, another tank coming into the center. We're just going to be seeing Clem continue to push through, continue to clean up. And the rest of the song from uThermal are going to start pressing forwards too, and here we go. Spreading out those Marines, but I don't really want to, oh my god. Target fire into the center of the Marines as well to maximize damage. Those tanks are so deadly. And now Clem has free upgrades of his own too. uThermal is in so much trouble here as Clem's looking to even out this series 1-1 in the best of 3. Take us to a 3rd map for the 2nd time today. 7 forwards orbital in some trouble. Tank fire once again. Anti-armor missile hits the entire army. And that's, I mean, it was already pretty bad for uThermal. And this is just going to be the nail in the coffin as Marines go down, GG is called, and Clem will take this game. Society Merham for the 5-month resub in a row as well. Thank you very much, appreciate it. Top left hand side, our red Terran player is Clem. And down to the bottom right, our blue Terran player from Team Liquid is uThermal. Alright, so setting up into game 3 of the season. All these maps really lend themselves to fairly long Terran versus Terran matchups. Thunderbird, another one of them that does just that, so going across. SCV Scout from uThermal. Clem will not SCV Scout, which is indicative of the fact that he's going double gas. So he is going double gas rather than a single gas expansion, which is what uThermal will open with here. So a little bit of difference between the two players this time around. Before now, they've been pretty similar on their initial build order opening, even if they have then diverged in terms of how exactly the builds in the games look after that point. So, yeah, I'm intrigued to see what comes out of this in the next few moments. As we do have the couple of SCVs moving around, and obviously just a scout here. Pretty normal from uThermal, like we mentioned. And seeing what's going to happen. So Reaper about halfway done at the moment. Once that drops down the natural expansion here, and again Reaper throwing down a grenade. A little bit of skirmishing here. We haven't really seen much of that so far. And command centers just going to resume there from uThermal. Delayed a little bit, but if there's ramping the only entrance point, he's pretty safe to defend. With Hellions on the way, he should be fine, although he actually does win that fight with the Reaper. So he gets the first Reaper kill. The next Reaper shows up. He doesn't get the SCV. Does he finish the command center? Yes! That's huge. He probably could have loaded that SCV in, but he wants some off the orbital instead. He's happy that his 2 Hellions being reacted out here are going to be enough to keep him safe. So getting that up and running here. These couple Hellions popping through, and well, this one Hellion coming through the center of the map. Starport's going to be finishing in a moment or so here from Clem as well, so that'll finish up, and the Tech Lab will be finishing. The Cyclone going to be on the way out now from Clem. So Cyclone coming through. Starport going to jump on over to the Tech Lab, and this barrack's going to move over to the right-hand side. So the Hellions pressing forwards here from uThermal, still trying to deal some more damage. Clem is going to get pushed away, and again, all said and done after the start, it's going to even out pretty much. I mean, uThermal lost a little bit more, but has the slightly faster command center, so you know it kind of is one of those situations that does even itself out. Raven about halfway done there from Clem as well, so already going into that. It's not the first time we've seen that. uThermal has beforehand today gone into this Liberator before Raven, and this is actually the first game he went for. He actually used the this build, got a lot of Hellions, ended up with Ravens as well, and ended up playing Mech. It really does feel very similar this time around too, so looks like we could be having some more mech play from Team Liquid's uThermal here once again. As this Liberator heads up to the top side of the map. Just having a little bit of scout around, seeing what's up, seeing what's going on. So yeah, Liberator coming through the top here, and again that Cyclone from Clem. Having a bit of patrol over to the right hand side. CC dropping down in the main base, more Marines, Raven, etc. on the way out. Hellions going to come running forwards. Reaper and Hellions in some trouble there right away. Oh, a turret dropped instantly from Clem to help defend. Still, these Hellions going to be a bit active at the front though, and that's going to be a good little combo with the Liberator. However, Liberator hasn't moved in yet, and uThermal's bringing the Hellions back, so keeping those Hellions for another time apparently, or that Liberator for another time apparently. very, very much. Aim and Tail for the 5-month resub as well. Appreciate it. He's getting repaired. Liberator is completely repositioned. Going from that main base around the left-hand side now. Going to push up in towards the natural expansion here. Just wanted to push in, see what I can perhaps get up to. Stimpack on the way out here from Clem as well. A couple more Vikings and a couple engineering bases from Clem too. So all of this on the way up right now is a couple of armories coming in as well. So there's a couple of armories building. Hellions trying to press forwards. Not finding too much success just yet. There's the Liberator. One kill right away. Cyclone lock on, but the Lib's out of there. I like it. You know, it's just Hellions poking, trying to buy some time. A little bit of lost mine time. I mean, look at that. All of this, gas that wasn't mining for a few moments there. Moves out pretty wonderfully. So, Base Trade TV of the raid. Hello, everyone from Base Trade TV. How you guys doing? Welcome to WardiTV European League. You joined us in Game 3 of a hell of a TvT series. It's been the best series we've had so far today, so you're joining at a pretty good time for some continued action. It's been pretty crazy, this one. And it's been continuing that way in this game so far as well, but we're heading into a bit of a Clem push at the moment as uThermal sets up extra factories to start going mech. Here's Clem coming down at the bottom side with Vikings, Ravens, Cyclones, and Marines, so pushing on down here. And by the way, Juvia for the 5-month resub as well. Clem, ooh, Cyclone's going to lock on. Hellion's going to take some damage. He's going to take quite a lot of damage, actually, as these tanks from uThermal going to be sieging up. A scan from uThermal drops down on that army. And we are just going to be seeing Vikings, Marines, and tanks still hanging out in the center. I mean, uThermal is in just such a defensive position. It's so hard to break a position like this on a map like this. We talked about this in the earlier series, how hard it is to break this. That's a nice snipe from Clem, though. Gets the Liberator. That's a really nice pick-off. As those tanks from Clem do siege up. These couple of tanks from uThermal are going to unsiege and relocate back down to the side a little bit. I'm still hanging out here as we see another Viking coming across down to the bottom right as well. Those tanks continuing to siege up. Vikings, Ravens, all getting joined up and part of this as well now. And we're going to see those siege tanks again. Going to unsiege and press a little bit further forwards. Interference Matrix going to drop down. It's going to be that first forward tank in trouble, but actually all the tanks of Clem will fall as well. If uThermal has the vision, he doesn't have a scan apparently. Okay, well that was actually a little scary moment or so. As you can see both those tanks pulling back a little bit. There's one on the right side also setting up here now too. SCVs getting picked off, and again, just going to be seeing the +1 vehicle weapons coming up. I mean, uThermal's fine to sit here as long as he doesn't lose too much in the long run, because he's quite happy building up on free base for a little while. But it's such a turnaround from that first game of mech we saw, where we saw obviously Clem had a hell of a time with being behind on a command center. He was being late to expand. This is a complete turnaround. Clem is in control of the game a little bit more this time, and hence able to do a little bit more with it. Now these Vikings and Ravens from Clem still hanging out overhead, still pressing forwards a little bit. A couple of SCVs getting shot down here. So here we go, Vikings again trying to move on through. Ravens as well, going to be looking for the opportunity to do just that, drop order turrets. uThermal has a full energy Raven still. He'll drop Interference Matrixes, and he'll give chase with his Vikings. A Cyclone locks on. He loses both of his Ravens, and Clem kept his alive, and that's a huge moment in this. Having Raven energy is obviously going to be a huge deal. And now uThermal really is starting to be in a little bit of trouble. Remember, if he loses this, uThermal goes down to 2-4 in the league. And Clem will still remain undefeated as he pushes up this ramp. Clem's feeling it at the moment. Interference Matrix is on all of the tanks. The Marines are here. uThermal is landing Vikings to try and save the day. His tanks are coming out of Matrix to try and help out, and he will hold with a couple of tanks. Tanks already on siege now to try and save the day as well in case the Vikings land on top of them. A lot of saving the days apparently in my commentary, as we're going to see the bio though might just be a bit too much for uThermal to hold on to. Another tank sieges though. The Vikings land a tank once again. Vikings in the sky turn away as well. And this Viking force from uThermal jumps back up. He will hold on here. A good continued defense. I mean, in a few moments where he looked as though he was in a lot of trouble there, he's able to keep it together. He's able to make this work out. And while now we have this little bit of bio, a couple tanks and Vikings all setting up in the center, thinking about maybe pushing down into that bottom right-hand side, pushing up this ramp into those siege tanks, trying to see what they can do here. Marines, tanks, Vikings all gathering together. A couple Marauders also gathering up here too, as we do have a lot of those Hellions from uThermal all the way up to the top right-hand corner. Sensor Tower is going to drop down here from uThermal as well. And again, those Hellions of uThermal just continuing into the upper left-hand side. Going to come straight through, and already some SCVs kind of getting roasted a little bit right there. So a couple of SCVs starting to go down. Again, the Vikings, the medevac, the rest of these few bio units just hanging out as well. Clem is moving back over to the right-hand side. Still keeping pressure on the map though, and that's obviously a huge part of this because it means that uThermal is not really able to expand easily. He's got a fourth base ready to go. He might want to try and mine out over here, but there's a Marine stopping him. It's a little tough. It's a bit of a weird spot at the moment. I'm still sitting down this ramp. Here we go. uThermal's going to go for the breakout. Tanks will siege. Hellbat's a fantastic tanking unit here as the tanks do get sieged up, and well, the Vikings will clean out in the skies as well. uThermal is going to be out of his base, and he has cleaned up Clem's army. Importantly, he's cleaned up all the siege tanks. That's obviously a huge part of this. Clem is focused on a bit of an air army back at home. More starports have come up over here. By the way, Blacksmith, my man, how you doing for the 9-month resub? Aurora as well for the 16 months. Thanks for the resubs, guys. Clem's bio still set up to the side. One medevac remaining on it. uThermal's even these supplies up, and maybe Clem's just been a bit too aggressive. Now, obviously, Clem has had that fourth base a lot longer than uThermal, so uThermal's desperate to get mining from this here. Clem's already up to a fifth base, but again, with mech, you can kind of work with one base less than the bio player because your engagements, your fights are meant to be that much better as well. Still seeing this bio force of Clem hanging out, seeing what it can do. Hellions, tanks, etc. from uThermal coming in, chilling out on the right-hand side. Hellions going to be pressing forwards. I like this. I mean, run-bys were something we saw in game number 1 that was very effective, and it's already the blue flame in place, so SCVs roasted quickly. It's a lot of damage being done here, guys. 10 workers down. This is the first hit uThermal has had to Clem's economy for a hell of a long time, if not the first one in this game. Another set of Hellions hit this planetary fortress. Obviously, they will get cleaned up naturally by the planetary, but it's 20 workers all together, and that's a very good attempt from uThermal to slow Clem down a bit. Here's Clem trying to push down to the bottom side once again. Vikings, Liberator, tanks, Hellbats all gathering up at the moment. The tanks going to siege Hellbats too, and looks like we're going to start pressing in towards this bioforce. uThermal wants to take a bit more of a position out onto the map. This is absolutely when, I mean, uThermal's up in supply plane mech at the moment, so he's absolutely, I would say, killing it so far. Marines will commit themselves in to kill a Liberator, but it costs a lot of Marines to do that. Now uThermal's just slowly pushing his tanks forward. He knows he's got the numbers to make this work, and as those tanks siege, they get a lot of damage done. Vikings picking off medevacs as well. Where is Clem's Viking force? He's only got 8, but he's got 3 Ravens. I mean, that is a nice addition. 2 more Ravens on the way. I just wonder if it's enough to actually hold on the ground, because I just feel like that's what's missing for Clem here, right? In the end, you still need to kill this ground army, which is going to be a little bit tough. Sieging up a bit further forwards once again. Hellions just in Hellion mode now. They're going to be able to chase down this bio. The last medevac goes down as well, and Clem's supply is dropping down to 160 now. 30 supply advantage for uThermal. Oh, but he loads up. He jumps up with the Vikings, lifts them up into the sky. As Clem's Viking army showed up just then as well. Vikings and Ravens coming through. Try and take part right there. Hellions around the right-hand side now. Again, just trying to see what they can do. Still SCVs from Clem just mining away on the top. The rest of this army now from Clem coming through the center. And a little bit of bio. Probably wants to work its way through these rocks here. This rock's going to start taking some damage. Again, Hellions, tanks, etc. Moving over the left-hand side of the command center. Coming out over the left as well. Rocks will go down. And from those Hellions, Vikings, and tanks are still pressing up to the upper left-hand side. There's actually a little bit of a mined out area here, so yeah, Clem's army can sort of cut the corner off. These Ravens aren't doing anything at all just yet. Loses one of them. uThermal is really starting to apply the pressure now. Clem has a base up here as well. Just an orbital that's made its way over there. A couple of Marauders in position to defend from the potential Hellbats. Here we go. Vikings are going to go to town. Again, the Ravens just don't feel like they're doing very much. A 4 in the army. As tanks are firing away, and uThermal's still just slow pushing up this side. A couple more 4s showing up as well. Help out with that air army. I just don't know if Clem knows what he wants to do with the Ravens. Like, does he want to matrix the 4s, the tanks? Does he want to help out against the Vikings? uThermal's army. Oh, he's got a lot of tanks very spread out. There's a huge amount of interference matrix going down. All the turrets as well. uThermal will lose the air army here. 4s and tanks that will continue to fight on the ground. The tanks are doing a fantastic job. Now the Vikings will land to try and be part of this as well. uThermal is going to be cleaned up, but it's a huge cost for Clem also. Both players lost a lot in these armies here, as a tank in the center is actually still doing a fantastic job of holding off other units. There's one Viking trying to land to get away, and actually that siege tank is still doing well. It's only the other tank that will eventually kill it now. uThermal has a 4, he actually gets a couple of Viking kills. I mean, Vikings are huge pickoffs at the moment, because that air control is absolutely critical to how this game continues. Again, more bio still gathering in the top left-hand side. The few Hellions of uThermal going to start moving their way over to the far left, so they want to run by a base. So Hellions running through SCVs, immediately in a lot of trouble. 3 SCVs already down. And a couple more bio units able to pick away at those Hellions. SCVs and mules dropping down heavily in that top right side. Clem's economy is one of the things that keeps him in this, but of course uThermal now has made his way to a planetary fortress bottom left, so he's also 5 base in it. I would imagine another command center will not be far off his mind to start taking another base as well. In fact, there's one right there. I was looking for on the map. I knew there was one in production. Well, uThermal a bit more defensive this time around as Clem pressing forwards. Tell you what, Clem only had 2-2 upgrades on the bio until now as well. This really has been a bit of a crazy back and forth between the two of them. 18 minutes of this TvT so far. Hellions running up this right-hand side. Marine gets roasted. Marauder in some trouble as well. On the bottom, the Liberator is sieged up. The missile turret's able to knock that Liberator down. So it's the Liberator that's not really that successful, honestly. Hellions running by, denies the command center building. Well, the Marauders that we saw there before will be able to defend this. Bio units here from Clem, hanging out in the center of the map still. Vikings are still pressing forwards. And we are just going to be seeing again another tank. Sieging up. Huge amount of interference matrices dropping down. I think it's going to be uThermal maybe in some trouble. I mean, as those matrices come off, it's a lot of 4s in the army. Can those 4s stand their ground? Vikings in the sky will win out for uThermal. An auto turret or 2 coming down to try and get some extra kills at the end. uThermal is again just about hanging in there. And it looks like we've probably won this fight as well, man. uThermal fight after fight, making this happen. What's up, Senpai, for the 29 months of subscribing. Thank you so much. And uThermal has a few more tanks in this now once more. Units from uThermal pressing forwards. Tank sieging up for Clem. Again, just going to see those units pulling back away towards the upper left-hand side. Again, this army here from Clem moving around in the center. Vikings getting some shots off. A bit more damage being done. uThermal's pressing more to the left side, and that is dangerous because Clem obviously has all of his economy over here. That's really, I guess these bases are obviously pretty fresh as well, but it is a lot of orbitals, etc. that uThermal could get rid of. Vikings able to pick up an orbital there, and just going to be seen still. This army from Clem is trying to make its way forwards, but uThermal has pretty good coverage. It's just a little bit split up, a couple units on the right. Now this is the danger for uThermal. He has opened up this right side flank as these tanks are going to be able to hold this position. Liberation up. uThermal is back over here. There's planetary force, while obviously the tank's in some trouble with the Ravens. Interference matrices are big, but they will fade, and there's more tanks where those first ones came from. Planetary can be repaired at the same time. Fours are just going to pick their way through the planetary on the left-hand side here. These few Marines, etc., are in a lot of trouble, so uThermal with a good split of army, able to defend comfortably, while also able to deal damage himself. And look at uThermal's bank versus Clem's bank now. As we're going to be seeing this army of uThermal continue to press forwards. Orbital command going to lift up into the skies is going to get picked off here. This army of Clem running back home. This is already nice. I mean, a bunch of orbitals dying. SCVs for Clem 2. uThermal has absolutely crafted his way back into this game wonderfully after being kind of contained in a lot of trouble before. Again, Vikings, Hellbats, fours and tanks coming forwards now. Tanks are going to get matrixed en masse by the Ravens, but now the Ravens are out of energy. Everything's matrixed, actually. This is Clem's moment, and what a moment it is. Pushing forwards, the forward base of uThermal is in trouble. More tanks showing up again. At least now the Ravens are out of energy, so uThermal can maybe make something of a defense now without more interference matrices coming down. SCVs will not be able to repair that planetary fortress. And again, Vikings coming around through to the center. Tanks will unsiege once again. This army of uThermal pulls back over to the right-hand side. Fours are again in just a little bit of trouble. We're just going to be seeing this army of uThermal still moving around to the right here. Clem. Well, Clem had a hell of a moment there, and he did deny a base, and that's huge, but uThermal has a base coming up on the right-hand side. 23 minutes in here on Thunderbird as tanks will unsiege, and uThermal's just going to press for the heart of Clem's army. I mean, if this turns into a base trade, though, uThermal needs to have something back at home to try and hold this off a little bit, slow it down. That is kind of happening. A few tanks here from uThermal and can definitely be used defensively. And these tanks going to siege up as well. uThermal is in a hell of a position, man. He's kind of between the bases of Clem, so now Clem's going to have to push through uThermal to defend. It almost forces Clem to fight into uThermal, and that's exactly what uThermal wants. Clem to fight into him, where he can kind of have his tanks pre-sieged, etc. Clem tries to hide a base, bottom left-hand side. I mean, this is just how desperate these players are getting for mineable bases at this point. 23 minutes in. Thunderbird is a large map with only really 7-ish bases. It's not ridiculous. It's not a map. It's a map that you can definitely see being mined out as Hellions run by into this base, which has been an orbital for so long, finally being punished here. There was fire units there previously, but now there is an opening, and uThermal makes the most of it. Vikings through the top side. Ravens maybe in some trouble as well. Tank's going to unsiege, and uThermal still wants to press forwards a little bit further. Italian's still left there. Clem, not sure if he's setting up a surround or if he wants to counterattack at this point, honestly. It's going to be a little bit tough. +3 ship weapons coming in on the armory as well. Here we go. Interference matrices en masse again. Just masses and masses of them. But if they fade away, there is going to be so much damage output from uThermal's army, and they're starting to come off cooldown now. The tanks are back in action, and uThermal has shredded Clem's army here to take this to a 2-1 advantage.